it's Vicky's bookcase. I hope you're having a really good day. So we are looking at our September bullet journal entries for the month. Now, of course, I'm starting off with my monthly page, and that is this month going to be all about board games, as I'm taking part in a readathon called Becca's Bookopoly, where we get to go around on a Monopoly board that's been specially created to give you prompts for books. So it's kind of exciting to do that. So I thought I would put in for the very first page a wheel of TBR. If you don't know what TBR is, it means to be read. And this is what started off my fascination with all these different TBR videos, is the fact that quite a few booktubers actually use board games and things like that to get their prompts for the month to make a bit more spicy, which I kind of enjoy and keep thinking maybe I should do that, and then realizing that I'd just be spinning the wheel for myself if I'm really honest. Anyway, so the very front page for the monthly spread is a wheel of TBR, and I'm just doing it in all the kind of Trivial Pursuit colours, so it's nice and bright. It's also very simple because I didn't want to complicate it by painting like I did last month, so everything is going to be just pencil, crayon and pen for the moment. So as usual, I do my monthly lettering. So of course it's September this month because we're in September. And I kept it very simple. In fact, I did my old standby where I do skinny letters and just have a pop of colour, because I wanted the colour to just reach out and grab you rather than have an overly complicated font. And it kind of works much better keeping it all very simple this month. I really do like the colours. I really enjoy the colourfulness of it all. And I like the fact that I've connected September with the colours of the wheel, and that's the same with Wheel of TBR, which is what I'm writing at the very bottom. It was a last minute addition there, just so I could remind myself that that's what it is rather than the wheel from Trivial Pursuit. So moving on to our next page, which of course is our monthly tracker where I'm tracking my reading and my audiobooks. I decided that I would go full on Monopoly, since all the prompts for this month were to do with Bookopoly. I thought, why not go all out and I'll draw my own Monopoly board within the book. Now, the biggest downside to this was, after I kind of marked it all out, was the fact that I realised that a Monopoly board is actually square. I know, you wouldn't believe it, would you? My book, of course, is not square, it's a rectangle. So the top and bottom are perfectly aligned, everything's all lovely and symmetrical, not symmetrical, but the sides, they're all squished together a little bit. I didn't mind in the end because you got the drift as where I was going with it, and it was really nice. I enjoyed having this kind of very square shaped, or rather rectangle shape, to work with rather than lots of curves, because sometimes you just want a bit of straight lines and ruler edges, which is what I did for most of the drawing here. However, I did realise after I did all my black outline that I forgot that quite a few of the squares didn't actually have a colour at the top rectangle. I totally forgot that, of course, waterworks, electricity and the stations do not have the lines, and I just ignored that in the end because I was like, oh, I'm not going to worry about it. Only a few people are going to see this anyway, and it's my own mistake. And I just like to remember Bob Ross's little thing where there's no such thing as a mistake, just happy little moments. So I kept with that idea. Now, the other thing I realised when I was colouring the board in, I was using the computer generated Monopoly board, so I just picked a picture. I didn't realise it, but some of the Monopoly boards actually are coloured in different places compared to normal, and it really threw me out because I started with one way, started colouring them in. As you can see, I've rubbed a bit out, and I was like, well, no, wait, that's the wrong place. Then I had to go back, rub it out, redo it, and it wasn't until I was looking at a third different Monopoly board that I was like, oh, they keep changing where they're putting some of these things, so it did go a little bit skew-whiff. But again, that's fine because this is only for my own personal enjoyment. Thankfully, I'm not selling this professionally, otherwise I'd be more panicked, but that's fine. Oh, and the other thing I'd mention is, although I did use pencil crayon for most of it, the pink I did not, because I didn't have a pink that was bright enough, so I went with a gel pen colour pink, just because it was a lot easier to make it pop, and again, it worked out really, really well with that overall. So I was pretty glad I decided with the pink. And weirdly, even though I don't like pink, this is my favourite pink colour, which sounds really strange saying that I don't like pink and yet I like this pink. Anyway, so as you can see, I'm just colouring in all the different sections for the Monopoly board. I also thought about just printing off the little stations for the Monopoly board and sticking them on so I can have a bit of a collage as well. However, when I did print it, because I borrowed a printer, it didn't print very well and I accidentally printed it too small. And I was like, well, I've printed it now, I'll just draw it instead. Yeah, I'm kind of, yeah, that was my downside. You haven't seen them yet. I'm just still colouring in here, so you haven't got to my weird trains. The good news is that the trains from a distance look really good. Just don't look at it closely. So if you're looking on a big screen, don't look too closely. It just goes a little bit skewed, but it's fine. So as you can see, I've written. I've not written yet. I haven't written it yet. I've coloured it in all the nice different colours, and as you can see, it just pops quite nicely. And I'm putting in my Go tile. I've already put in my Just Visiting in Jail tile. There is one other place where I did not, well, I think I'll save that until we get to near the end where you see where I totally ignore it, because I have a definite Achilles heel, so to speak, and you'll see what that is kind of towards the end. So I'm now writing in all the roads. I'm not keeping it to how it looks on the Monopoly board. For one thing, my writing isn't that small, and for another, it's really hard to fit it in, and I just kept it with my neat writing. And it looks fine. As I said, I really don't mind. It wasn't supposed to be a perfect thing. It was just something fun to reflect the month where I am using a Monopoly or Bookopoly board to create my reading pile. And if you want to know what I rolled, I have the rolls all on my Instagram page at Miss Vicky's Bookcase. So if you want to know what they will look like and what I ended up doing, then jump over to there and you'll be able to see. I'm going to keep it there for the whole month and then it'll kind of disappear into the ether, just in case you thought I was cheating. I didn't. I thought about it, especially for the one where it said read a sad book. And I was like, I don't like sad books. I don't even know what a sad book is. I had to trawl the internet to find my sad book. And I think I went with, what did I go with? I'm just looking across the room. The Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb, because I've heard it's very sad. Anyway, so moving on from my book decisions for the month and going back to my Monopoly board. So as you can see, I'm looking at some of it and I'm like, what am I doing? On the last row, I don't know why, I've forgotten that we have like this super tax little square, because I was looking at them, I was like, there's too many empty squares. I obviously don't play Monopoly enough to remember that there's things like super tax and waterworks. I eventually did work it out. Now, as you can see, I've got a little cutout here, and I've cut it out and did it, especially as I went wrong and wrote the wrong road on. It was supposed to be, I think it was like income tax, but I accidentally just put, I think it was one of the roads, one of the blue roads, I think. So I just cut a piece out, and I will stick it down as soon as I find the Pritt stick. My nephews visited last week, and I could have sworn I saw one of them have it in their hands. I haven't seen it since. I really need to find it. So, oh yeah, here we go. There's my little trains and my little question marks. Thankfully, question marks are really easy to draw. I'm very glad of that. And as you can see, it's getting nice and full now. I really do like the colour. Now, my kryptonite or my Achilles heel, it wasn't the trains, And it wasn't the car that I'm going to be drawing in a second, that was my nightmare, but it was the policeman in the top corner where it says go to jail. I was very naughty. I didn't even bother drawing him because I don't know why. I used to be able to draw people. In fact, I did my GCSEs in art, and I have a very good picture of me that if I do say so myself, in pencil, and I look great. Can I draw a person now? No, it's the face and the eyes. I don't know what goes on with it, but every time I try, it looks really stupid. And so I kind of try and avoid that kind of kryptonite and avoid that. So I fully admit I left it blank because I didn't want to mess around with it too much and ruin it by doing a really terrible impression of a policeman pointing go to jail. So we kind of have a blank space. I might try off screen, maybe. More likely, I'm not. I'm going to pretend I don't see it and hope for the best. There you go. I'm well ahead of myself today. I've done my little car. Actually, the car wasn't too bad to draw, and in some respects, neither was the train. So as you can see, if you look further away, the train doesn't actually look too bad, as I said before. I have to say, looking at this, I'm very glad now that you can't see the drawing of a tap from too close. And because the angle's a bit odd, because I don't have a straight down tripod, you can't tell how bad the actual tap is, which again, I'm very glad about. I mean, I shouldn't really say that everything's bad because actually I quite like it compared to last month where I kind of went wrong. Well, I didn't go wrong, but it wasn't as good as I thought it would be with the blotchiness. I actually quite like this one comparatively speaking because there's not much to it. It's very simplified drawing, which I really like. When I try and make it overly complicated, I don't know about you, but I think sometimes it goes a bit more wrong. So we're finally coming to the last bit of my tracking page, and of course I'm drawing in each day for tracking. So on the left, as usual, I've got my physical reading or my ebook reading, and on the right I'm going to have my audiobooks. And it's been very interesting actually tracking when I read and how I read, because I've noticed that when I'm on a weekend I don't tend to listen to audiobooks at all really compared to during the week. I tend to walk to work and I like listening to an audiobook on the way to work. Gets the blood pumping as you're hoiking down. Or in some respects, if you're listening to a really funny bit, you're laughing like a hyena and people looking at you funny. But I tend to ignore that nowadays because I got used to just being in my own little world and just laughing to myself as the comicalness hits. And I've also decided to keep with the theme as usual and write in the month of September just in case I've forgotten what it is. Yeah, I was also checking what colour I'd done the front page so I could kind of keep with the bookish theme, although having said that I just went with my favourite colour, which was blue. We're now on to our last double spread, which is our TBR and red page. Now I decided to go with Cluedo for this, and I went with the original Cluedo layout and the original Cluedo colours. Yeah, not. I made it absolutely massive when I looked at it after I finished. Originally, it was supposed to be across the whole page, I have to fully admit. It was supposed to be the double spread across the whole thing. And then it hit me again that Cluedo is also square, comparatively speaking, to the book, which was no good if you have a rectangle book. So I did scale it down to a kind of page or like a 2/3 of a page, and I think in some respects that was a little bit of a mistake because then I have this tiny little blank space for my TBR, and granted I only have technically 8 books on my reading pile for this month. I know I'm going to read a lot more than that, and I can of course write over the picture, but that was a bit pointless doing it too large. Or rather, I should say, I should have done it less colourful so it wouldn't impact so much on what I was writing, because now I'm going to write it and I'm going to have to go around the different room names. Room names? Yeah, room names. But I also did enjoy doing this one. It's really nice again to have this kind of very square, ruler-like precision. I kind of did make a little fake it till I make it type thing with that, and I really liked the overall kind of gridding. Sounds really weird to say I like the gridding, but I really did like the gridding, and I made it a nice bright yellow as that was the colour that the original Cluedo had, and the outside was green, so it was really interesting because it was bright yellow tiles, kind of bright yellow green around the edging, and then they had this weird brownie colour for the rooms, which I wasn't a huge fan of, I have to say. I mean, why brown? It just seems like a weird juxtaposition with you have this nice bright yellow, this nice green, and then this weird fawny brown colour. I think someone should have checked the colouring because that doesn't quite make that much sense. Anyway, so as you can see, it does take up over 2/3 of one page, and I gave up the thought of worrying about where I was going to fit all my TBR on. And I also decided not to do anything on the opposite page, so this drawing would cover really both sides for decoration, which again is fine in the end. I'm glad I've been able to experiment this month with kind of the sizing of different decoration that I use, as it gives me some idea as to what I do and don't want in the following months. Next month I'm quite excited because I have decided to go with, of course, a spooky theme because it's the month of Halloween and October and harvest. I don't want to give anything away at the moment, but let's just say I'm quite excited for next month to come and have that kind of spooky theme. Now we're on our last page, which is our book of the month, and I've kept this one super simple. I've just decided to keep with different sided dice, and that is a reflection of one of my favourite games of all time, and that is Dungeons and Dragons. I used to play it when I was a little girl with my dad and friends, and I've never forgotten it, and now I play it with my family each week, which gets interesting, shall we say, when it's a whole family playing. So I think we're just about ready almost to have the flip through, and don't worry, instead of having it at 600% so you can see me colouring fairly fast, I'm going slow-mo. So we have our monthly plate, our tracking plate, our to be read and read page, and our book of the month. I hope you've enjoyed this month's theme, and I will be seeing you in the next video. Have a great week!